All right, well, welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt, and with me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kenny. Eric, you got your BBI hat on, looking good. I got another Inside BBI with John and Eric shirt, and I've got my glass. But we'll start with you first, bud. What you drinking over there? What you got?
I have a new beer. I got just in honor of you, Hoppin' Nomad IPA.
Nice,
fruity. So
all right. Well, I'm not sure if the fruity part was in honor of me, but all right then. I've got Indigo Reef Brewing Company Hive Another Honey Cream Ale in my Inside BBI glass. So I know you're waiting for yours to come.
I mean, my wife and I reviewed this company. It's got top ratings, and you get your stuff already, and mine's still in production. And I know the other guy. There's another gentleman who's ordered his stuff, and I checked his order today, and it's still in production. And I'm like, how are you getting your stuff? And you must have an inside track on something.
I guess, but I think I'm missing one thing, though. I think I still have one more thing to come. So
it said yours is being in the process of being shipped. But you're getting your stuff. I'm screwed. I don't have any of my stuff. Anyways. All right, roster stuff. We got a lot to talk about. Plus, I don't know if you want to talk about the game.
We can talk about that. First off, it was kind of a godsend. I did get to watch it while I was away, and I got some time alone, and that was good. It was fun. Man, that was a fun game. I know a lot of Giants starters didn't play the, especially offensively. We started with Dart. There was a nice mix and whatever, but man, Dart right away, you can't be disappointed at all in the play of Dart, except for the fact that I don't want him to get tackled by staying in bounds. Other than that, he's looked very impressive.
Oh yeah. I mean, everyone nonstop is making videos about him on YouTube now. It's like, if you want to get clickbait on YouTube right now, make a Jackson Dart video. How great he is. It's actually making me a little bit nervous.
Right.
So, calm the hype a little bit because I don't want to jinx it. But I mean, he's easily the story of the preseason. And I'm going to be honest with John. You could make the argument that in hindsight, it's 2020, obviously, but you might want to start Jackson Dart and the Russell Wilson experiment. I know they're not going to do that. And part of this is this. Do you agree that at some point Jackson Dart's going to start this year?
I got to say at the moment, more than likely, yes. The record's going to dictate, but I think more than likely,
you're going to go with a good record, aren't you?
I'm not giving that until we do that show.
All right. Say Jackson Dart plays, and say he plays sooner than later. I don't think Russell's going to be a very happy camper when they bench him. And
fair. That's fair.
I wonder what that's going to be like. I worry about that a little bit right now in terms of, again, I don't worry about Jameis. Jameis knows his role. I wouldn't worry about Tommy because Tommy would know his role. But I wonder what Russ would be like when they basically say, you know what, we're going with Jackson. So, in other words, if it's a Kurt Warner type situation, the Giants are hovering anywhere near 500 or still not out of it, I wonder how he would react to that. And again, I don't think they're going to get rid of Russell Wilson for a variety of reasons. They're not going to do that. But now I'm wondering, would it be just best to pull the Band-Aid and just give him the experience now?
I don't think you can. Let me rephrase that. You could, but he's laid such a groundwork with the community, with the team. He's been very supportive of Dart. Russell Wilson. Yes. He's been very supportive of Dart, all these things. If you just yank him after you constantly kept saying he's a starter, bad look. So
not only that, but the veterans, I think the veterans have bought into him right now.
Yes.
But I just worry about when you do pull the plug. Remember last year when you said they made it very confusing for the players when they benched Daniel Jones after they were building him up, and saying, no, he's our guy. And they said, oh, no, I'm sorry, we're done. And then they just cut him.
Right.
Then they bypassed Locke and went to
straight to DeVito.
And you said at the time that you thought that was sending sort of a confusing message to the locker room. I didn't really give that a lot of thought at the time, but in subsequent weeks after that, I think it became clear that the team was a little bit confused by that too. I just worry about a little bit about the confusion too when they do make the switch, if they make the switch. Now, the ideal situation, obviously, well, the ideal situation would be Jackson Dart comes in and leads us to a Super Bowl. But the ideal situation, realistic situation, is the Giants have a winning record with Russell Wilson at the helm, and they don't make the switch because he's playing so well. Is that complete? I have a feeling you might be going in that direction, but that's another.
We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait for another show for that particular thing. But I'll ask you this. Let me kind of turn the tables the other way. Do you think that all the attention on Jackson Dart has taken some of the pressure off from instead of the focus being Russell's washed up, Russell's this, Russell's that? No one's really critiquing him. No one's really. They're all just infatuated, media-wise, is infatuated with Jackson Dart. They're not necessarily saying he should start. They're saying he should be the number 2 over Winston, who clearly is taking this totally in stride. But for me, Russell Wilson, a guy who coming into this could have faced a ton of scrutiny coming to New York, downside of his career, being expected to take over. And instead, he's kind of like the goodwill ambassador so far. And no one's really focused on, Russell, it's just eventually Dart. I think Russell's under the radar at the moment. The pressure's off from him, to at least as far as him specifically. The Dart stuff will build as time goes, but I think the microscope isn't on him like it could have been.
Yeah, I could see that. I think there's 2 things going on. Number one, if he's got any pride, and I think he does, he's a little annoyed at this. He's a little annoyed at Jackson getting all the credit. Not at Jackson, but getting all the
just a scenario. Yeah.
He's, everyone's talking about Jackson, and no one's talking about, again, we're talking about a 10-time Pro Bowl or a Super Bowl champion. He might be a little bit irritated, which, again, would be a good thing, because he'll be able to have a chip on his shoulder. You could argue, though, John, that the pressure is actually increasing on him, though, because if any little mistake, any bad game, any bad streak, and then the calls for Jackson to play is going to increase. I agree what you're saying. He's flying under the radar media-wise, and that's a good thing always. But the pressure is going to go. I look, but let's take 30,000 foot view right now, and it's way early, but this is one of the stories of the NFL right now. The Giants traded up to get Jackson Dart. A lot of people criticize that move. Even you and I were not big on the Jackson Dart bandwagon. I wanted
Jalen Milroe.
You wanted Milroe.
Yep.
I was kind of like, I'm not even sure there's a quarterback in this draft. Neither one of us were really high on Shedeur, but we weren't really like pounding the table for Jackson or anybody else at that point.
Right.
Hell, we were talking about maybe if they're going to take a flyer, maybe McCord, who the Eagles just cut. So, but this is a huge story because right now it looks like the Giants might have drafted the best quarterback in the draft. And again, with way early. I understand that.
Sure.
Cam Ward still, 3 years from now, what I just said, it might be really dumb. It's out there on the internet.
Right.
But right now, I think if you started this draft over right now, I think there are some teams that passed on Jackson Dart in the first round that would have drafted him now, based on what they.
I agree, without a doubt.
I mean, the Steelers might have taken him.
The Jets,
I saw somebody the other day who said the Cleveland might have taken him at 3. Stayed where they were and taken him at 3. I'm sorry,
New Orleans. I mean, come on. Yeah, absolutely.
Not at 3 yet. Where did Cleveland pick? 2? Were they picking at 2? Wherever Cleveland.
We were 3. Cleveland.
And they were 2, and they traded back. They said that they
Jacksonville jumped up. Yeah.
2. So anyway, this is a big deal. And I know I started a thread on this, and people were like, "Relax, calm down. Daniel Jones looked great. Blah blah blah."
It's not the same.
I don't think it's the same.
It's not the same.
I think it passes the eye test right now. I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we might have a quarterback. Now, I know that can change. I'm just saying right now, this is a big, big deal. If we came out of this draft with our franchise quarterback and Abdul Carter, holy crap. So, and then it looks like we might have a guy that can play right and left tackle. And we don't know about Scadaboo yet, but and we don't really know about Darius Alexander yet. We haven't we'll get into this later, but tight end. Anyway, it looks like a really good draft. So,
there is a couple things. I think Russell Wilson playing with an edge, hopefully, is a good thing. So we'll leave that alone. what you
Right.
just brought up about Jackson Dart, right? Let's go back. This goes back a number of years. 1983, Dan Marino is the last of the quarterbacks picked in the first round, ends up being a Hall of Famer. Aaron Rodgers goes way after Alex Smith, ends up being one of the best quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are really hit or miss in terms of scouting
Right.
it. Jackson Dart, to me, the big difference between Jackson Dart and Daniel Jones is this: everything Jackson Dart does is pretty natural. You see he's naturally playing the game. Daniel Jones was very physically athletic for his size, but at quarterback, a lot of it was somewhat manufactured. Now, in his rookie year, he showed a lot more than he did any other year after that. For some reason, everything kind of closed in on him, partly because he turned the ball over so much that I think people worked that out of him. So even the stuff that he trusted himself, which was taking shots down the field, he no longer trusted himself. But they're still totally different quarterbacks. What
Well,
they
one of the
inspire in
reasons,
the players is different too.
well, one of the reasons Daniel Jones had so many issues with fumbling is he had no pocket presence. Jackson
Also
Dart
true.
seems to instinctively feel the pressure, and he moves around in the pocket. I mean, he's had pretty darn good pass protection, but it hasn't been perfect, and he's
Sure.
been moving around. I like one of the first plays of the game, that big one to Gunner. He was he looked to the left, he kept his eyes downfield. He looked like he was going to run, and at the last minute, he just out of the he saw Gunner and Daniel Jones doesn't make that play. I'm sorry,
Exactly.
he doesn't
That's a
make
good
that
point.
play.
No
That's
way.
and there's a lot of plays in that game that Daniel Jones doesn't make. So, all right, we're jumping the gun. We shouldn't mention Dan Marino in the same breath.
No, but what I'm saying is lower picks.
No, I know what you mean. I know what
You know what I mean?
mean.
People get too wrapped up in, oh, he wasn't a top 3, top 5, top whatever. It
Right.
doesn't matter. What matters really, I've said this numerous times. We talked to Phil Simms about this. It matters on where you get drafted. You can be a good quarterback, go to a shitty team, or
Right.
the system's just not right for you, and we may never hear from you ever in your career. But yet you get, with the right coach, Joe Montana, 3rd round pick, goes with Bill Walsh, and that was perfect for him.
If they nail Jackson Dart, we're back. That's how big this is. If the Giants had got their quarterback, it may not be this year, it might not be next year that they make get into the playoffs, but they're back. If he's the real deal, and we got him already, we didn't have to wait till next year in that draft. We have Abdul Carter, and then we can get whatever. We don't have to worry about quarterback next year. It's just gigantic, and then we should be celebrating this. People should be cautiously very optimistic about this right now. They shouldn't be. If you're Klaatu, if you're out there being afraid, I saw your post. Be optimistic right now that this is a big deal. And he's the story of the preseason to me, not just the Giants preseason. He's the story of the entire NFL's preseason right now. And I think if you go on YouTube and you scan the NFL content right now, it's Jackson Dart after Jackson Dart video, and people are admitting, you know what, we were wrong. I was wrong about this guy. Again, way early, but it's just everything seems to be very, very positive. And anyway, fun. It was a fun. Then we should get to the roster. But my reaction to this last preseason game, it may have been the funnest preseason game I've watched in my 30 years as a Giants fan. I just had a ball. I know you were away, but I stayed here because I'm superstitious. So I sat here in this seat, had my TV on, had my beer, pretended that Brennan Neal was here and Neil Hickey was here and everybody else was here. And I was just going, and I was like, because I was in my superstitious mode, and I was having a ball until the injury to TJ Moore, which stunk at the end. But the whole game, I'm like, this is the best preseason game I've ever seen. I was having a ball. It was fun, and it wasn't just because of the beer. So it was fun.
What was really, I think it's a story. It's almost the biggest story, maybe just that far behind Dart. But I think Dart is a reason why this next part is really a big story. It's the energy. Again, preseason means nothing. 3 wins means nothing. Dominating in those games still technically means nothing. But we have not seen that in forever for the Giants. Even in bad, shitty preseason games, they did not score points. It was it was a trudge, ugly, just dreary. Oh, we won or we lost, and it was whatever. It never looked really good or inspiring.
Right.
You watch it now. Watch the enthusiasm of the veterans, the guys who have been there. By the way, these are not veterans with wins in their back pocket.
No.
These are veterans with losing season after losing season in their back pocket. And they're seeing guys like Russell Wilson running out in the field congratulating Jackson Dart. Jameis Winston. Dexter Lawrence is out there getting guys going. These guys are excited. There's the feel or the weight, and it sucks to say this, and I don't mean to beat the poor guy up about it, but the weight of the Daniel Jones piece, which really was very heavy, it was a thing that was way more tangible than I think even we fans really knew. With that gone, these guys are like, there's enthusiasm, there's energy. Russell Wilson brought a very business-like, a very polished view of the quarterback position to the Giants. Jackson Dart brings that youthful energy, that hope for the future kind of thing. And those two combined with Jameis Winston being the guy
don't
keeps
forget
everybody going.
Jameis Winston just, I mean,
and quite frankly,
I'm kicking myself right now for not bringing up the clip. I should have got the
the eating the W.
Where he's looking, and John C. said it was a drone. It must have been a drone, because I'm like, how does he even know there's a camera there? But the way he looked into the camera when Jackson gets the W, and he's had this.
I don't think it's a drone.
Because one of the funniest freaking things I've ever seen in my life on a football game. And to cover what you said, I have never seen, and I'm going to make a prediction now, we will never see ever again a veteran team, veterans in the fourth quarter of a preseason game celebrating on a sideline a gunner getting blocked on a punt. Did you watch that in the fourth quarter?
I watched the whole game.
I've never seen anything like that before. So those who didn't see, the Patriots are punting, and the Giants blocked up one of their gunners with two guys, and so manhandled him. And this was the fourth quarter. Everybody on the Giants sideline went nuts. And even the announcer was like, what is going on over there? I've never seen anything like that. Anyway, it was fun. The whole night was fun. I was down here laughing. And again, I know it doesn't mean anything, but it was that just supports what you were saying. It was the whole thing. I don't think we should underestimate what Jameis has brought to the team, what Russell Wilson's brought to the team, but the buy-in with everybody else. I just worry a little bit now that when and if they do the switch, I hope Russell handles it well. I just don't know how Russell Wilson's going to handle being demoted.
Well, we could keep talking about the game, but I think it's easier. I think it's easier to go to the roster, and we can kind of go back to it. So let's start there. Let's start with quarterback, because I think that's the easiest one. But there is a question that I have. We've debated, you and I, back and forth, of whether you could make Dart the 2, and my perception is that Dart is automatically a 2. You're like, well, you might not be.
Everybody agrees with you right now. Everybody out there in the Twitterverse and the YouTubeverse says Dart's number 2. Everyone agrees with you right now.
But do you think, and this is where I'm gonna go even against my own feeling about this.
Right.
You said something earlier, and it made me want to ask this question. Do you think the Giants play it cautious in that let's relieve some of the Russell Wilson pressure early on? We'll make Winston the 2, so fans aren't clamoring for Dart immediately, and that way we can kind of manage it. But if they come to change time, like full-time change, it'll be the same as we had last year. I don't think you could do this, but they might, of taking Dart from 3, make him 1, and Winston stays a backup. I don't believe it, but do you think that could be a way we start the season?
Wait, say that again.
Wilson would start. Winston would be the pseudo backup, but in reality, once they decide that to yank it for real, they would jump 3 to 1.
Oh yeah, well that's what I was leaning towards originally, but now I'm not so sure. Now
I don't think you're right.
So there's two conflicting things here, and we gotta admit to one, which you know, and is becoming aware to most people. Brian Daboll is absolutely head over heels in love with Jackson Dart.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it.
He loves Jackson Dart. I wish my wife would look at me all the time like Brian Daboll.
You're like, right, no, look at me like Brian Daboll looks at Jackson Dart.
So part of me thinks that he would like to do it right now and just, again, remember, this is a growth process. So part of me, this is where I let in. I wonder if they could kind of do this all over again, if they would even have gotten Russell Wilson. Probably, I don't know. But if they knew then what they know now, I would just wonder if they would have done it differently. But
agreed.
So that
Fair.
leads me to that Brian's just looking for an excuse to put him in whenever. So if Russell Wilson, you better not even have a hangnail because you might not get your job back. Part of me also says, the flip side says, they know they've probably got a good thing going here, and they're excited, and they want to they kind of want to open up the present already, but they might say, you know what, let's not screw this up. We know we got it going in the right direction. We think he's ready, but we're not 100% sure he's quite there yet. Let's not even take a chance to screw this thing up. Because like what you said earlier, remember you said it in the beginning, once you start Dart,
that's it.
You can't go back.
Yep.
You could, but it's going to be it would look terrible.
It's a terrible look.
It's a terrible look, and it's a terrible thing with the team. So part of me says, do they play it safe and say, you know what, we struck lightning in a bottle, but we're not going to push it. We're going to wait until we really, really feel he's ready. Or does, again, Dable say, you know what, I want my guy in there. Those are the two things that I'm conflicted with right now. So part of me says they'll play it safe and do what you just outlined, but part of me says Brian Dable wants him out there. So I could go either way on this. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I could see them going. It's and everyone's going to be talking about it when they talk about the Giants all year long. They're going to say, when are they going to? It's going to get annoying. When are they going to pull Wilson for Jackson Dart? They're going to bring it up every week. It's going to be the thing that they talk about.
So there will be two things at play. One is going to be record. The other one is going to be the offense itself. Right. We saw this, right? We saw this in 2004. The Giants were 5-4 when they moved on from Warner to Eli. The reason they moved on to Eli at that point in time is even though they had a winning record, the offense was sputtering. So the deep down thought was it's probably not going to be sustainable the rest of the year. We might as well get him in and play. But that was a different scenario. That's Tom Coughlin's first year. Daboll is here. He's got to win. But This is his guy, and his guy has shown up way more than I think even they expected. That seems obvious. Like there's no doubt anybody who tries to say anything else. Like I know there used to be the Giants were full bloom love with Daniel Jones. No, there was nothing like that compared to this.
Brian Dable never looked at Daniel Jones like he looks at Jackson Dart. Never.
No, not even. This is Leonard Hofstadter looking at Penny. Okay, yes. He is chasing it, and at some point this is the way it's gonna be, and when it happens, that's it. This is gonna be the deal. The funny thing is, right? So we look at the quarterback room. We have three. We know we have three quarterbacks for sure that are going to make the roster. You could go four. There's an argument that says that Tommy DeVito could technically be the third quarterback. He's played just as well as Jameis Winston. There's just no way I see the Giants doing that because Winston brings too much to the table as far as I don't think he cares that he's not the starter. I don't think he cares to try to even be the starter. I think he likes the role that he's in. I think he likes being the mentor. I think he likes being part of a team. He likes being liked. And that's a big deal. Yeah, if he comes into place, he's going to be slinging it. But by the way, I kind of don't really want him playing at any point in time because we know what we're going to get. 22 touchdowns and probably 27 interceptions. So it's like,
but you got to admit, it was pretty goddamn cool for him to come in the first pass, throw a touchdown.
You know what it was? Cool. But I felt bad for Dart in that, here he was dropping dimes onto Hyatt and he drops the ball and Winston throws and he catches it. And it's like, I'm like, God damn it. Where was that when Dart was throwing it?
It was a lesson for Dart, though. Don't be stupid running the football. Right. So in a way, it was a good thing. He was pouting over on the sideline. In a way, it might have been better for him for that to happen. I just thought that was cool. All right. For all you guys who have been patiently waiting, we are going to get to the roster. I swear to God, we're not going to take this long to get through our roster. I do want, since you start with the quarterback, to throw one thing out there that I mentioned today, and I don't think it's a completely dead topic. I don't think it's impossible the Giants carry 4 quarterbacks. I don't think they're going to do it, but I don't. And I can find there are people on the roster right now who I have on my projected 53 that I say, you know what, this guy isn't all that good. And if you want to hold on to DeVito, right? So, right, if there's a team out there that wants DeVito, they obviously don't want to give up a draft pick for him. They want to wait till the Giants cut him. I could see, and Paul Dottino brought this up today, but I've been thinking about it too. He could envision a scenario where the first few days, the roster, they hold on to
DeVito.
Tommy and waive somebody who they're pretty sure is going to get through waivers, and then try to get somebody to give up that pick. And people who keep saying no one's going to trade for Tommy DeVito, I don't think you're correct. The quarterbacking around the NFL right now, the backup quarterback situation is not great. There are teams out there that I would be very surprised if there isn't some team right now who's eyeing Tommy DeVito right now, because the quarterbacking has been that bad in some of the cities, the backup quarterback situation.
Sure.
So the Giants, as somebody correctly reminded us a few shows ago, the Giants have carried 4 quarterbacks before.
True.
It was the Kent Graham, Dave Brown, was it Sims and Haas? Sims and Haas.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So they've done. So there is a value. I think he has value. So they could hold on to him, hope somebody does give up a pick for him, then get that guy back they would have kept anyways. Or, they may just say, you know what, we think he's too valuable. And I know, again, I've been one of the ones that have been very critical of DeVito. And I understand the game that he played. There were a lot of short passes, and like the 41-yarder, that was a screen pass, and it inflated his stats. But ever since the OTAs, even though he's hardly gotten any snaps, DeVito's had a very good offseason. And there is value in a quarter. I mean, I'll put it this way. Who has more value right now, DeVito or Evan Neal? I mean,
oh, yeah. I mean, who's shown more in the NFL? DeVito.
Would you rather hold on to at this point? Maybe you go with 9 offensive linemen instead of 10 offensive linemen? So it's that kind of thing. So I don't think they're going to do it. But I will not be shocked at 4:00 tomorrow if DeVito's still on this roster, if they haven't gotten a trade already. I just want to throw that out there.
Safe to say that if there is a trade at quarterback for the Giants, the only one we're talking about is DeVito. Winston's not going to get traded.
They have made it clear. I mean, Brandon Brown made it clear they're not going to do it. I don't think
it'd be weird to say that and then go the other way.
I don't think that's them playing poker. I think they really, and I think we saw it. I think we saw it on the sidelines during the game. They believe, right or wrong, and I think they might be right, that his value as a cheerleader on this team and as a calming presence for Jackson Dart is infinitely better, worth a 6th or 7th round draft pick to them right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you say it froze?
You did, just for a second.
Okay.
Let's kind of keep the quarterback thing down. Wilson, Dart, Winston, those are our 3 quarterbacks. We will find out the order, but I think that's going to be the order they're going to be.
Did I bring my chart, or is it too premature?
I mean, it depends if you want to hit a couple of the positions before you put all the names on the screen.
All right, let's do that.
Okay. Let's just go with that for now. So we got
you and I have the same 3 quarterbacks.
Same 3 quarterbacks. So of the 53, we now have 3 accounted for. Let's jump to running back.
I thought originally 4. I think I'm going with 3. I think Turbo Miller deserves to make this roster, but I think they can cut him without another team picking him up. The only thing that makes me think they will keep him is that they had him playing gunner on special teams, and it makes me think that they can. But I come back to 2 things. One, Cy mentioned. Look, I like him a lot catching the ball out of the backfield because he's so damn fast and quick. He was instant first down every time he touched the ball. But I question whether he'll ever see the field in that situation once the regular season starts.
Right.
In the pecking order, they'll always have Tracy and Scadaboo and Devin touch the ball before he does. So I come back to that. Turbo's just not going to touch the ball. So why use the roster space unless he is your gunner, one of your gunners on special teams? I think they can put him on the practice squad. The other thing is what Cy mentioned is, as a runner, if you contact him, he's not very physical. He goes down instantly. So, and those kinds of running backs are kind of a dime a dozen in the NFL. So I think I like him. I want to keep him. I just think you can keep him on the practice squad. I don't think you have to spend a roster spot on him. A lot of people have him making the final 53. They may be right. I just don't think they have to do that.
I think Dayball's history says that he likes guys he has a connection with. Manhurts, Singletary. Before that, Isaiah Hodgins, they brought him in. They were comfortable with him because they kind of knew him. I'm thinking you're going to look at Singletary's going to make the team. I don't see how you
Yeah,
go.
that's a given.
He's the veteran presence, and you've got Tracy who has a fumbling problem, so you got to keep an eye on that. And Scadaboo's been injured, and you don't really know yet. You haven't played him enough.
Yep.
You've got to have the guy you can trust.
Yeah.
Miller is the guy that's kind of the outlier. It would be great if you could, but now you really get juggling roster spots. If you, especially, let's say quarterback gets to be as questionable as we said, and they're like, oh my God, maybe we're going to keep 4. You can't keep 4 running backs if you're going to do that. And I kind of just have a feeling they're going with 3. That's been kind of what they've been doing all along. And I think they'll risk Miller making it to the practice squad. And if he doesn't, they'll grab somebody else from another team that they could stash.
And I think he will. I don't think anyone's lining up the draft to grab Miller.
Agreed.
So and another, I want to say this: everyone who we go through this every year, 16 players, not including the international player, are going to be back with the Giants the next day. And we always go through this. We did it with Miller last year. A lot of people liked Miller last year, and they were like, "Oh my God, why did they cut Miller?" Well, Miller was instantly back with the team on the practice squad. So we may be wrong on this. Miller is one of those guys that a lot of people have them. I mean, John Schmelk and Paul Dottino had Miller had them making the team, so he could very well make the team. The thing that if he does, it's special. I think Miller would have really helped himself if he broke off a big run or 2 in the preseason. He had a lot of carries, he had a lot of touches, he looked great in catching the ball. He just didn't have that signature run or 2 where you go, wow, we can't let go of that guy. So that's where I'm at.
So the one thing I'll say for Miller that could be where that could make that scenario right, and we're going to get to one of these other positions in a minute, is if you go at wide receiver where your returner is actually going to be used in the passing game a lot, but you're only going to keep a certain number of them. So before, like Smith Marset was basically the returner. He was not playing offense hard. I mean, we weren't going to see him on offense. If you go a route with, let's say, and again, we'll get to wide receiver in a minute, so just for shits and giggles, if you were going to go gunner and you want to play him as a receiver too, and you go with only 5, now you might want another guy on the team who can also return kicks because you can't go into a game without a guy who can return kicks.
Right.
So now Miller's got a spot on the team. For now, I think you're right. I think it's 3, and let's not forget Eric Gray is on the pup. And that's a guy they could pull off later down the road if they choose to go that route. If we lose Miller off the practice squad or something
the loser of the Smith, Marset, and Gunner competition is going to end up in the practice squad. Nobody's going to grab one of those 2 guys.
Correct.
So
that's
the
true.
Loser of that, we'll get to that when we get. Let's do wide receivers right now. But look, you and I have not compared notes. We did not talk about our picks.
Nope.
So but right now we have the same 6 people making.
Correct.
Okay. This is probably where we're going to have some difference. Wide receiver next.
Let's do it. Let's do tight end because there's less and then there's more.
This is a bitch. Now, my projection is going to be wrong if Dottino and Schmelk are right. Schmelk looked into he was on Big Blue Kickoff Live just a few minutes ago. He looked into the camera and said, look, Giants fans, there is no way, I'm telling you, the Giants are going to get rid of Daniel Bellinger or Chris Manhurts. He said now, does that mean he knows something? I don't know. But he said he doesn't have any inside information, but he said it in such a way that said, like he knew he'd been fielding a lot of calls with people that don't want Daniel Bellinger or don't want Chris Manhurts. And he was like, you're wrong. They're staying. And Dottino had him making 3 tight ends. And he had him cut both Fedoni and Dulcich. That was Dottino. And Schmelk barely, he said, kept Fedoni. So right now, everybody's darlings right now is Fedoni and Dulcich. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And they were playing late in that game. And I said during the game on BBI, I said, not a great sign Dulcich is playing so much late in this game. Same with Fedoni was in there. So I wouldn't do it. My tight ends would be Theo Johnson, Greg Dulcich, and I see Dulcich. Somebody made this point on BBI earlier. I apologize for not remember who posted it, but Dulcich is almost like an ideal backup for Theo because he's like a receiving type tight end. So if Theo
Correct.
Johnson tears his hamstring and he's gone, and you need a receiving tight end, it's not Bellinger. Daniel Bellinger is your like ideal guy. Dulcich, you see him, he's like a wide receiver out there. And so I like Dulcich. I probably overrating him. I know I've been on his bandwagon since the day we signed him. I'm keeping Dulcich, I'm keeping Fedoni, and I'm keeping who am I forgetting here?
Johnson, Dulcich, Fedoni.
Right, I'm forgetting somebody here. Wait a minute. Who's our fourth tight end?
Bellinger.
I'm keeping Bellinger. I'm keeping Bellinger too. Yeah, I know you're not keeping Bellinger.
I'm not keeping Bellinger. I actually debated whether or not to go with 4. I'm only going to go with 3. And the reason I'm only going to go with 3 is because they've been playing Chapman so much at fullback as well.
Right.
He becomes the de facto blocker if you need to get into a block. Now you don't have to go like 2 or 3 tight ends in a short yardage situation. You can bring in a full-on fullback. I really, personally, I don't know that they'll do this. In fact, I kind of feel like they probably won't.
Right.
But you made a good point, and when I've been thinking about this a lot. So Johnson, Dulcich, and Fedoni are all somewhat similar. Johnson's way is a bit more athletic than either of the other two, but they all play a similar game that they're very good in the passing game. Bellinger is Bellinger. Ever since the eye injury, he's never come back to where it seemed like he was sort of moving up. It was more like flatline or decreasing in terms of what he brought to the table. Manhurts is just what he is. He's a blocker and an occasional very short yardage passing guy.
He is what he was last year. He was a 3-catch, 1 touchdown blocker.
33% of the times he scores.
He had 3 catches and 1 touchdown all year, and that'll be the same thing if he's on the roster and he's your blocker. But I don't even see him as a Howard Cross type blocker. I guess what I'm saying is if you keep Chapman, like you said, and you have him as like your fullback, and I know you like to have an inline tight end, but if you're going to do that, I would just go with Bellinger at that, because at least you get some receiving out of Bellinger.
Right.
So to me, I'm like, in a perfect world, I'd love to keep Chris Manhurts, but I just think the roster's better now. I'm pretty convinced that if Dulcich gets cut, someone else is going to sign him. I don't know if he's a waiver wire. I think he's I don't think he's eligible for waivers. Is he? Is he a vested vet?
Is he a 4-year veteran?
I'm not sure, but I think he goes someplace else. I mean, like even Miami picked up Darren Waller. I mean, Miami is pretty desperate at tight end. There are teams that are desperate at tight end, and I just look at Dulcich as a really good red zone weapon. And I don't like our wide receivers. Other than Malik Neighbors, I don't like our wide receivers. So if you're as someone who doesn't like our wide receivers, I want to have our tight ends be a strength, and I want to throw to my tight ends. And Dulcich to me is the second best receiving tight end on this team. Might be the best in terms of reliability tight end. If we're 3rd and goal from the 5-yard line, I want Greg Dulcich on the field. I'm not throwing to Jalen Hyatt in that situation. I'm not throwing to Wandale in that situation. I'm throwing to Greg Dulcich. If they cut Greg Dulcich, I'll be disappointed. But it looks like it's going that way.
If they go, and we're going to get to in a second, if they go less at wide receiver, then they're going to go more somewhere else. The question is, where do you go more? Is it a 4th running back? I don't think so. He doesn't bring enough to the table. The passing game, because our wide receivers are kind of Once you get past 3, you've got a young, we'll get to all those guys, but you got a young guy, you got another guy who's done nothing so far. And then you've got a guy he is what he is, and I think he brings a lot of stuff to the table. And then there's one who's strictly a returner who's now going to play a little receiver if he makes the team. I think tight end becomes a huge point. You can spread those guys out. If you keep Manhurts, you can't spread him out. Bellinger, you could, but he brings very little athletically outside. He really needs to play off the line or a motion guy to get in there. So if you don't want to drastically change your offensive game plan in game, if an injury happens, then you've got to have players that actually play the same type of game as the guys you already had out there. Like you said, Dulcich is more like a Johnson. Fedoni is more like a Johnson. He's more of a receiver. They're not blockers per se, but they block just enough to make the team. I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
And Bellinger was used a lot at fullback by the Giants. So if Chapman is like your new blocking fullback, then that's what I would do. I think Schmelk knows something. And again, Manhertz didn't play in the finale. If you didn't play in the finale, if you were a healthy scratch in the finale, it was a really good sign that you're going to make the team. The problem with Bellinger was he was
he nicked
nicked
up?
up.
Yeah.
He was nicked up. I think he was in street clothes, so we didn't get a good read on him. But it's just the way Schmelk said it today. He was like, "No, guys, believe me, Bellinger's making the team." So I would go with 4. I would get rid of Manhertz. It sounds like Manhertz, if you believe Schmelk, is on this team. I see the value. I would love to have him. I would just rather go in another direction. And again, if we're playing the Dallas Cowboys in week 2, we got a key throw. I trust Dulcich out there in catching the football in that situation. There are a lot of other guys on our team right now. I don't trust in that situation. I'm a little nervous about our wide receivers. Bellinger, like you said, he's a decent two-way tight end, but he doesn't scare anybody. He's not going to get down the field on anybody or anything like that. Dulcich can do that. So that's me. All right.
And Bellinger's had opportunities. I mean, he's opportunity. Johnson got injured last year. He didn't really do a whole. And I know the Giants' offense struggled, but I mean, it's still. I mean, you still got to put guys out there. They got to do something.
Right.
And you just haven't seen him come back from that early excitement of when he was kind of as a rookie. He was really kind of making his way, and that eye injury against Jacksonville really set him back.
I don't know if that was it. I don't understand why that would be an issue for him anymore. I think that I think it's more coincidental. Everyone brings it up, and understandably, because it seemed to be a before and after. But I don't know why that eye injury would be a factor for him. It's been years now too, so I don't know what it is. He just doesn't look like. Maybe he just played better early, and he just isn't the same player anymore, or maybe we overrated him. I don't think he's bad. I think he's a decent tight end, but he doesn't do anything special.
Right.
So that's me.
So if the Giants I have 3. Because I don't really want to keep either Bellinger or Manhertz, but let's assume they're going to. If you think 4,
what do they do if they force your hand? If Dable told you, John, we're going to keep Theo Johnson, Manhertz, and Bellinger, but you only get one more guy. Who's your 4th? You got to pick between
Dulcich and Fedoni.
Yeah,
I think you can. I actually think Fedoni probably gets lost in the numbers of everybody else being released because there's just not enough tape on him. He does have an injury history in college, so guys might go and there. If you have a tight end that you're going to put on the practice squad, you're probably keeping one of the guys you released yourself, and just because he already knows your playbook versus a rookie who hasn't done anything. Dulcich, on the other hand, if you release him hoping he's going to make it to the practice squad, there's a possibility other teams are aware of what he can do. And if they have an opening at tight end, he's a guy they might just grab and just put him and just take him.
Yeah. And the flip side argument, though, is Fedoni's contract is so cheap. You have him on contract for 4 years. So,
and the other thing is, let's be honest, the Giants very well have worked out some deals with some of these guys already. They might have talked to him and said, listen, this is what's going to happen come Tuesday. We want you on the practice squad. We are going to plan to have you on the roster at some point in the year. You could say that about a bunch of tight ends on the Giants roster, though. I mean, I think Bellinger's going to be a free agent as well. Manhertz, I think, is only through this year. So really that shouldn't play a role in who you keep. So they might work out with Dulcich or Fedoni to say, listen, we want you on the practice squad. Don't go anywhere else unless someone claims you. Because if you get claimed, you go to the roster. You only get signed to somebody's practice squad.
Right.
So that's a big difference. And so that's why I think you might be able to slide those guys. But I just don't see keeping Manhertz and Bellinger is kind of like keeping half of a tight end each.
How much demand would Manhertz be in, though? I mean,
I don't think any his contract.
He's a veteran. He's not going to be claimed off of waivers. And is anyone lining up for Chris Manhertz? I don't know. Anyways, let's move on because we got to get this going.
So did you go with 4 or 3?
I went with 4. I'll bring up I put together a little list of what my projection is going to be, and I don't want to spoil some of it, so I'll put it up soon.
So let's jump to wide receiver.
Schmelk and Datino both thought 5, which I was surprised at. They thought they'd go 5 wide receivers. I see 6, and I think the four are obvious. Though I wouldn't. Jalen Hyatt's lost me. I think he is who he is. I don't think he's very physical. I don't think he's a very tough player. I think contact bothers him. I think we're stuck with him because his coach and staff and this GM are going to give him one more year. So I think he makes it, and I think they're going to keep either Gunner or Smith-Marset. I'm predicting Gunner, and I wasn't there when they brought him. I thought Gunner was no way Gunner was going to make this team, but I think Gunner has been impressive as a backup receiver, slot receiver in this preseason. My gut says they're probably going to still go Marset, but I would take Gunner. And the question is if they go a 6th wide receiver, who is it? I'm still leaning towards Bo Collins despite the mistakes because of what Mike Groh, the wide receiver coach, has been saying, because of Brian Dable's been saying about him. Both of those guys don't praise people very much. They certainly don't talk about rookies being smart. And even though Bo Collins has caused 2 interceptions because of mental snafus, I think they like him. But I could also see, and I think this is where you are, John, I think I could see them risking cutting him and hoping nobody picks him up. I think they telegraphed. My gut instinct is when they released Montrell, Washington, and the other guys, they kind of telegraphed what I thought they were going to do. I thought they were going to keep both Jalen Hyatt and Bo Collins as the backup outside guys, and then it is either going to be Gunner or Smith-Marset as the backup slot receiver. That's that. So I'm going 6. First, are you going 5 or 6?
Well, 5 to me is way too short, right? Because one of them is the kick returner. So
not if it's Gunner though, right? Gunner can kind of be like a backup slot guy now, right?
But no. What I mean is he's going to be returning kicks
right.
as well.
Right.
If you only go with 5, my number 5 wide receiver is also my kick returner.
Right.
So if any one of the 4 are nicked, that means that guy is playing a ton of offensive snaps and he's returning the kicks.
Yes.
If he gets hurt, now I'm screwed. Now I'm down 2 receivers. I can't imagine you go in without 6. I just think you got to have 6.
I have 6, but they had 5, which I thought was interesting. I have got 6.
To me, you got to go 6. You got to go 6. And I thought, who was it? Was it Duggan?
Well, who's your 6?
Okay. So unfortunately, Jalen Hyatt is number 4, at least as in terms of numbers of going. We know the first 3.
Right.
Hyatt's 4. I would cut him yesterday. At that point,
and are you looking at waiver wire at that point, or are you keeping?
Yeah, or I'm looking to trade, or I'm looking to see if there's something. Now, Jacoby Myers is out there as a guy
who trade draft picks for players right now.
No, but I mean, if I could trade Tommy DeVito to like the Raiders for Jacoby Myers, I would do that. I'd get me a veteran wide receiver that can make plays for me, and I know I could put him in a game, and I could expect he could make some production for me. Sure, but I think you got to go 6. I think Collins, was it Duggan? Was it Jordan Renan? One of those guys said Collins is absolutely making his team. Don't get caught up.
I missed that.
So if you and by the way, they used him so much with the ones. I mean, a lot.
If you didn't hear Mike Groh's interview, he's a very surly guy. He doesn't give much praise when he talks about people. And one of the reporters asked him, he said, well, what do you like about him? And he listed like 6 things. He was like, well, he's big. He's fast. He's very smart. And it's the same thing Dable said right off the bat. He's very smart, which is kind of frustrating with these 2 interceptions that have happened. But again, he's a rookie. There is a growth period that we have to go through. I mean, Amani Toomer, as people have brought up, again, took 3 years to become Amani Toomer.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying he's going to be Amani Toomer, but he's built like Amani Toomer is. So he's got that length, and he said he likes, again, the height, the length with the arms. I saw a guy before the draft who said Bo Collins was the best receiver in the draft last year at getting off press coverage. So if you got size and you get off press coverage, and so what showed up in the game, which was disappointing, was what we saw at Notre Dame was sometimes the hands. So I think one of those catches would have been really tough. I think There was that really nice throw that
The dart one where
Dart
Dart was
made
getting
when
hit.
he was getting
Yeah.
hit. That would have been a tough. Again, I was saying you got to catch that, but that would have been a tough catch. The other one, no question, he should have caught that. Jalen Hyatt should have caught both. I had 5 drops on Dart in that game. Somebody said 3. I said 3. I said there were 5 drops in that game. But I had Bo Collins making the team just because I don't think they want to risk losing him, because I look at this team. I think there's a good chance Wandell's not back next year because his contract's up. Who knows what kind of year Slayton's going to have? We'll have to see if he's productive. And I think they got to have some receivers here in addition to the ones that they're going to draft and or sign in free agency next year. So I thought Collins, unless they see somebody on the waiver wire that they really think is a much better potential prospect than Collins. That's what but did you have Collins there, or did you have somebody else?
I'm having him there, but I just real quick, I want to clarify something I said earlier because I think there's confusion in the chat. To David, your point about Dave Meggett, I'm totally on board with, but I am going to correct you on that piece just in a second. My point about Gunner or Amir Smith-Marset, if they are the returner and they're your number 5 receiver, keep in mind the Giants are, and many times they're going to put 3 or 4 guys out on the field at wide receiver during the game. If any of those guys get nixed up, the 5 is now suddenly the 4th guy at wide receiver. If he's also returning kicks all the time, you potentially are going to get that position could be obliterated in a game very easily by having your returner get hurt and one of the other guys gets hurt, and you've only got 5 wide receivers. My point is you're going to have to have 6 guys. They might all be active that game per se, but you're going to have another wide receiver. You can't just go with 5 and one of your 5 is your full-time returner. Dave Meggett was the returner, but the Giants also had Otis Anderson. They also had Lewis Tillman. They also had Lee Rousson. I mean, he was out there catching passes.
They also had another returner, though. I mean, they could get one of the running backs, which they have to do the kick return.
But but if you do that, then who you putting back there? Tracy? No.
Yeah, they could do that. I mean,
so that's where the juggling. Yeah. But I think it has to answer your question. I think it has to be 6. The reason I think Collins is a guy who's going to make it. Look at your receivers that you have, right? Neighbors, he's in a world by himself, so let's ignore that. Wandell, diminutive. Slayton has a little bit of size, but not a lot of size. He's what, a 6-footer? He's not a big, taller guy. Collins brings you a little bit more size, a little more beef to the wide receiver position, which we don't have. Jalen Hyatt is not a physical player. He's not very big. He relies on speed only. And quite frankly, they should have called him for pass interference multiple times. He pushed off at the very end. It's really, they got away with it multiple times.
And a touchdown. He pushed off on the touchdown.
And if it was a good cornerback, like somebody known as a good corner, that ref is giving that flag to that corner. They're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. That was a bad push off.
So you're going 6. Let's keep this moving because we're dragging this out. You're going 6, and you're going.
Keep going. I lost my beer getter.
All right, you're going 6, and you're going with the 4 plus Bo Collins, and who's your 6? Is it
so? Yeah. So right now, Neighbors, Wandell, Slayton, Hyatt, Collins, and then I want Gunner's my 6.
So you and I are the same on that too. So we're.
Oh, that's interesting. Nice.
So what did you have on the tight ends again? You had 3.
I went with 3. I would personally like to have it as 4. I want
Fedoni. Who are your 3 tight ends?
I mean, I had Johnson, Dulcich, and Fedoni. They're not going to. They're going to keep one of the veterans. I could see that, but Schmelk said there's no way that's happening. But we'll see. All right. So we're now to the offensive line. 10 or 9. Did you do? We're juggling so many spots already. I got a feeling it's got to be 9. You go 10. Where are you going to take people away from?
Well, you took some tight end off.
Well, I've got 3. Yeah, but I mean,
you only have 3 running backs, and you only have. Did you prepare your list? Did you have your?
No, I do not. I'm actually doing it as we go. I don't do that. I don't write stuff down. I like it to be natural.
50 instead of 50.
No. Because I personally think. Again, I would like it to be I know they're going to keep one of the other guys. So my 3 tight ends, we know in reality, they're going to keep either Bellinger or Mannertz. And it sounds like there's a possibility it might be 2. And I don't like that at all, but I went with my 3.
Okay.
Now I went with 3 running backs, but for the moment, because I'm probably going to go a little deeper at a different position. So I'm going to go with 9 right now on offensive line.
Okay, you're going really light though. You're going to be able to take more defensive players. I got 10, and I'm off with Schmelk and Dottino on 1. So I've got the starting 5. We know who the starting 5 are. I've got outside as the backup tackles. I've got Bo and Hudson. I think they're a given. I think the guards are going to backup guards are Neal and Azudu. Though Azudu has been hurt since right before the Jets game. New England game. He did not play in the New England game, and he hasn't practiced this week. So I don't know what's wrong with him. Schmelk said they didn't know what was wrong with him, and they had both of them had Azudu making, but they both said they don't know what the injury is. That's a problem with him. Same with Neal. Neal has not been able to stay healthy in his career, and Azudu can't stay healthy. So that's a knock on both these guys. People say we got to replace Greg Van Roten. He's 35 years old. He's not ideal. But Greg Van Roten never gets hurt, and Greg Van Roten is consistent. That's why they love him. He's not a 35-year-old guy you'd think would get nicked and hurt all the time. He was the one guy that played all 17 games last year, and you could rely on him. Josh Azudu, if you want to turn your career around, get off the goddamn injury list and play. So anyways, I got Azudu, Neal, Bo, Hudson, and the one guy that has kind of won me over in the preseason, I didn't have him originally, is Schlottman. Now they had Stinney making it, and I could see Stinney being the other guy. We have not had a true backup center for a while. They did sign Schlottman 2 years ago, not this year, the year before, to a 2-year contract. They don't tend to do that unless they like somebody. I've been very impressed with him in the preseason. And I know people can move Greg Van Roten to center, but that starts a whole, switching around multiple positions again. So I'm leaning towards Schlottman and having a pure backup center, but I can see the case for Stinney making it. I think they want to get Kubis on the practice squad. I would get the other Hudson on the practice squad, but I'm going with 10 right now. That's where I am.
All right, you're going with 10.
Yeah.
Thank you to my son who's going to school now for engineering. So thank you to bringing me a second beer. I'm going with 9. We have the 5. We know that. I'm begrudgingly keeping Neal only because we already know the Giants they're not going to cut him. I just cannot. I would be absolutely happily stunned come tomorrow if they release Neal. He looks as pathetic as he has at tackle. I know some people are going to argue and say that's not true. Give him time. Watch him. He just cannot move laterally at all.
Side to side. I've got 4 asterisks on my chart that I'm going to bring up of guys that I think they're going to keep who I would not keep, and Evan Neal's one of them. I think we're prolonging the inevitable with Evan Neal, and I think we're prolonging the inevitable with Jalen Hyatt at this point. I don't think they're players. I think they're coach killers, and I think we're just like I said, we're postponing the inevitable. I agree with you. At this point, I would rather give it to the other Brian Hudson spot. I'd rather give him that spot than give it to Neal at this point, because I don't think Neal can do it. I understand the talent and he's a tease, but I think the only reason he's even in the conversation at this point is pride has gotten in the way with the Giants. Yeah. Evan Neal can't play football. Evan Neal's not a good football player.
If you took his game tape, right? Yeah. Let's just say this preseason alone. Are you drafting that guy to play guard? Probably not.
John, they highlighted him during the broadcast of all his screw ups. Have you ever seen somebody do that to somebody in the preseason game before?
Yeah, you know what? And
I've never seen him do that to an offensive lineman before.
If he was a rookie and you knew he was playing in the 3rd preseason game and weren't expecting him to go anywhere, you're probably like, hey, he's giving effort, but that's what you get, and maybe he'll develop. This is a guy drafted 7th in the draft.
And he's playing in the second half of the 3rd preseason game against backups, and he's still having problems. So what do we?
But I think they're going to keep him. So I'm going to include him. I don't want him. I don't want him.
Why? The only reason I can come up with is because he was a seventh player taken overall. And that's at this point and he's not going to be back next year. They're not going to re-sign him.
No,
so
no,
why
no,
are we
no.
postponing the inevitable on this?
Let's assume though that they are going to keep him, but
they are.
Again, I will be happily wrong if they cut him.
Yeah.
I'm Bo, obviously, and he has been. I don't care that they're like, oh well, he's actually struggled a few times here and there. Bullshit. This is a guy that was look where he was drafted. He has outplayed Evan Neal. Period. I mean, look at all of Neal's tape, and this guy gives more effort.
Marcus Bo.
Marcus Bo.
I would not put it past. I would not discount the possibility that if Andrew Thomas gets hurt again this year, that Marcus Bo is our left tackle.
He's the first guy coming off. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even this year, but next year that he's our starting Marcus. I think Marcus Bo can handle left tackle in this league. Now, is he our ideal left tackle? No, but I think he can play left tackle. I have a pretty good feeling that if you put Marcus Bo out at left tackle, he won't embarrass you. He might give up a sack to like Micah Parsons and much better players, but he's not going to embarrass you.
Right.
Andrew Thomas, you got to get on the field.
Well, that's
he didn't practice again today. I don't think he's going to be ready for the opener. Hudson's going to be the left tackle for the.
Could you see the Giants activated him? Could you see them short-term IRing Thomas?
No. I think I wouldn't bet my house. I think once that they brought him off the pup, they're hopeful that he'll be ready by the third game or the second game or something like that. But
because short-term IR is
how can he be ready by the opener? I know we have 2 weeks, but he's still not practicing.
Short-term IR is 4 games. If he stayed on the pup, it would have been 6? That you'd have to miss a minimum of 6, I believe. I worry about him. So anyway, to finish it out, I actually think they're going to keep Schlotman. They need a true center.
Oh, so you had him in Schlotman too. You had him at Schlotman.
Because the argument I made all along was you really wanted somebody else to win right guard so that Van Roten can be your guy at backup guard, backup center, and that's cool. But he's the starting guard, and it's not in question. So if he's the starting guard, I don't want him to be the first center off the bench. I need a guy who can play center. And
okay, so you and I are identical on that too. So the only place we're not identical is tight end, right? I'm going to bring this up. This is going to be all right. You're going to all right. So this is what I've got so far, and this is going to give away what I'm thinking on defense here. But this is what I've got so far. And again, if Schmelk and Datino are right, I got my tight ends wrong. They've got Stinney making it over Schlotman. They have Dante Miller making it at running back. They only have 5 wide receivers. They had Bo Collins not making the team. So that's where we're at right now. And Datino had 3 tight ends with neither Dulcich and Fedoni making the team. Yeah, so that's where we're at. So let's go defensive line. You see my guys there. I went with 6. A lot of people go with 5. They went with 5. Did you have 5? Now you got extra spots. I know you didn't count yours up, so I know you don't know how many. But
right, I'm going as I go along. But my concern is on defense. My concern is in the secondary because I don't feel comfortable with my corner situation based on injury and or play. That I feel like we're going to have to pick somebody up. Either a trade or we're going to pull somebody from somewhere else. And I think we're probably going to go a little heavy. We also need another safety. So I'm a little concerned that we're going to be grabbing some guys and adding. So I think they're going to want to give themselves some flexibility. Defensive line for me right now, I mean, my big thing is you got to put DJ Davidson on there. And I see a lot of other people not doing that.
Schmelk and Datino did not have Davidson making the team. I have a problem with that. So if you can see, I have 4 asterisks on this chart. The 2 on the offense are the players I think are going to make the team, and I personally would not have them on the team. Jalen Hyatt and Evan Neal. I don't think they have a future here, and I think if anything, it's going to. I hope I'm wrong. I hope again. I'm rooting for all of these guys because they're Giants. But I just have a feeling that it's not going to work out, and why are we wasting time on it? So I would rather a wide receiver picking up another wide receiver off the waivers, and I would rather go with the other Hudson on the offensive line. Nunez Roches doesn't do it for me. I don't understand what the Giants see in him. I like his personality,
sure.
But I don't get it. when I see him play, he doesn't do anything. Is he a train wreck? No, but he doesn't. To me, he's not a really good run blocker, and he certainly can't rush the passer. So I have a problem if you go 5 and your 5 are Lawrence and Roy Robertson Harris. Those are your starters. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I'm okay as Darius Alexander as your developmental guy who you hope he doesn't have to play early because he can't play yet. When he played this preseason, he wasn't very good. So he's your developmental guy. And right now, their backups that Datino and Schmelk and others have are Nunez, Roches, and Chapman. You put those two together on the field as a rotation, the Giants are going to get gouged in run defense. Those two cannot defend the run at the point of attack against a power running team. Can they every now and then make a play? Yes. Every now and then you see Elijah Chapman penetrate into the backfield and make a tackle for a loss, but he is not somebody you want lining up. If the Philadelphia Eagles see those two out there, they're going to run up and down the field against us. So to me, I would rather get rid of Nunez Roches at this point, and there's got to be some kind of nose tackle out there that's going to be on the waiver wire than him. I refuse to believe you can't get something cheaper and better than Nunez Roches on the waiver wire. I think he makes the team. I don't get it. I would get him off there. That's my prediction that he's going to make the team, but I certainly wouldn't do it. And if you are going to go with that, you better put DJ Davidson on this team, because then where's your beef? If you want to bring somebody,
Claire Peller over there, we go. Nice.
What? Oh,
Claire Peller, yeah.
So I mean, because Elijah Chapman, he's tiny, and Nunez Roches is not a big guy either. So you got to have some beef up front, or you're going to get mauled.
I think the Giants, again, projecting my own personal feelings on this, I think they showed their hand on Chapman.
Oh, did you see this? Wait a minute, this was breaking news. Did you see that?
Well, that takes care of one of the thoughts I had about going for Jacoby Myers. So there you go. Boy, that Kenny Pickett, man, he's made the rounds. Yeah. The Giants are trying so desperately to make sure that Chapman has a role. They found other ways to use him. I think he's going to make the team, but you can't count. He's too small. He's too small. If you have to go with, especially the way we play, right? We play with the edges being, we already know who the edge guys are. We're not playing a traditional 4-3. It's a hybrid, borderline, wide 9, which I hate that term, like eagle, and I don't mean the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean the Eagle defense that the Rams used to run in the late 80s, early 90s. It's a hybrid of that. So your tackles or your defensive linemen need to be big physical guys to eat up that middle. Chapman doesn't do that. And if you're down to Roches and Chapman, we're screwed that way.
We are screwed. I don't like that at all, especially if you have a rotation.
So Chapman has to be the guy that you're keeping around to be a rotational guy. You're using him at fullback, which that's where your extra blocker comes in on the offensive side. He can give you some speed. He can be very physical. He's a very strong guy. I watched him in some of the close-ups when he had him mic'd up. You see him on his plays when he's going in, but he's playing lesser linemen in this game. So that's a little, take it with a grain of salt.
Schmelk wasn't convinced he would make the team, by the way. He thought it was between Davidson and Chapman.
See, they're so different. They're not. I don't agree with that. They're completely different players. It's one thing if you're comparing Roches and Chapman. Roches is a little bigger, but not a lot bigger. Davidson is huge. Davidson is strictly a guy who's going to maul and push forward. That's neither Chapman or Roches.
What do they see in Nunez Roches? I don't get what they see.
I think it's because they spent money on him in free agency, and it looks bad if you cut him.
It's not that much money.
Well, there's not. But if you look at our depth, right? Jordan Riley, you're not keeping him. Jordan, you're not.
I would take him over Nunez Roches. I mean, what? Can you tell me a play Nunez Roches has made?
But the reason I say I cringe at that is because I think he has more, and I hate to say this, I think he has more gravitas in a locker room with the other players. And I think if you did that, you're undermining your group's. It sucks. If you bring in a better talent, then players accept when some guys go. But if
Right.
you take a guy who clearly was a lesser talent, you've had him like third or fourth or fifth string basically, and say, okay, we're getting rid of this guy and we're going to put him in, you're going to lose the locker room a bit to do that. They have to get a better player if you're going to replace him.
I understand. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't like it. He
I
yells
agree.
a lot. He yells a lot. That's the he yells. He yells a lot. If you watch this mic'd up, he's great at yelling. All right. Outside linebacker, I think this is pretty obvious with the caveat that some people really like Trace Ford, and I do too, but I think Trace Ford can get to the practice squad. Schmelk and Datino had him making the final 53. Datino actually had Tamon Fox also making the final. I don't see that at all because Tamon Fox was on the practice squad last year and no one touched him. So I don't know why you'd move Tamon Fox on the 53. But I think I'm going with 4. I don't know if you're going with 5 there. So you went with 6. I'm sorry. Before you did this, did you go with the same 6 that I did on the defensive line?
I'm going with. Let me make sure I got this right. Yeah, so I mean Chapman, I believe, is there because they're using him. They mic'd him up. You probably wouldn't do that if you plan on cutting him.
Right.
You're using them at multiple positions, which I've said is going to allow them. That's why I think keeping Chapman means you don't have to keep a strictly blocker at tight end. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah,
so I have Chapman at the bottom.
There might be other people on this roster I would take. I might take Corey Durden over him. I might take
Well, and let's also keep in mind though, there might be veterans, guys who cost a little bit more that are going to get cut and or might get traded for a conditional pick next year or even 27. Because guys just want to get rid of their salary, but the Giants have to juggle because they're tight on the salary cap too, so they'd have to play with numbers.
But he's one of those other guys that I think that you're spot on. I think they like him for some reason that I can't put my finger on it. Again, the locker room thing, maybe that he's another one of those guys. The other guys I put the asterisk next to that I would part ways with, and I would just say, you know what? There's somebody cheaper, better that's going to get cut. He's not a pass rusher. We don't need a pass rusher. We need some fat guy that can hold the point of attack. That's what we need.
So they're not exactly the same, and some folks might not remember this guy. So if you don't, I get it. DJ Davidson kind of reminds me a bit of a John Washington or a Stacy Dillard, a guy that we carried who you brought him in. He was physical in the middle. He didn't bring a ton in the pass rush. You didn't see him really shine, but he played strong. And that's what Davidson does. We just need somebody to keep those other guys clean because we're going to move a Carter. We're going to move Tibbs. We're going to move Burns. They're going to be moving all over.
Right.
I want a physical guy. So Davidson. So I have Chapman, Davidson making the team. Alexander making a team, but God, if he wasn't drafted where he was, he would be cut.
Agreed. Well, I don't think I'm not giving up on him.
I agree. I'm just saying,
talent, but he had a disappointing.
He hasn't shown anything. You're basing everything off what you scouted him. If he was a second-year guy, like you added him. Right. You're not thrilled with this dude at all. He's done nothing.
I would say the same thing about Elijah Chapman. Elijah Chapman and Darius Alexander have been the two of the more disappointing players for me in the summer. And I would actually put Rakeem Nunez-Roches out there, but I wasn't expecting much from him. He is
that's a good point.
He is who he is. I mean, so again, they weren't awful, but they weren't good. I guess is what I saw. Anyway, we could debate this.
There you go. That's actually good. Right. And the Giants could very easily be looking at the waiver wire for a strictly big nose to back up Dexter Lawrence. That could be somebody they pick up and bring in.
Right. I'd bring in. I'd keep an eye out for a couple. Right. Are you outside linebacker? Are you keeping Trace Ford or are you?
I would love to, but I don't know how. I don't know how you can.
Okay, so he's going to the practice squad.
Yeah. Yes, that would be, and I would bet that they probably have already worked that out with him. Like, hey, listen, we want you to come here. If no one claims you, don't go to anybody else. Don't sign with anybody else's practice squad.
Most of the players, so they're at 27, right? They got to make 27 cuts or injury list moves. Like some guys are going to be put on the injury list. Like you got Eric Gray, you've got Victor.
Well, he's pup, so he doesn't. You don't have to worry about Gray. He's on the pup.
But isn't he already still count against the 90, even though he's on the pup?
But he stays on the pup. The Giants.
No, what I'm saying, but he's one of the 27. So what I'm saying is,
Uh,
17 of these guys are going to be 17 of the guys that practice today are going to be on, unless we pick up guys from other teams, are going to be on the practice squad. So some people were saying today, why would the Giants have practice today? Aren't they risking somebody getting hurt that they're going to cut? I think as Big Blue Blogger said earlier, most of the people that they're going to cut are going to end up on the practice squad. So a lot of the people that we're talking about right now, like the Trace Fords, they're already going to be on the practice squad. No one's going to pick up Trace Ford, I don't
but
think.
you just don't want anybody to get hurt because then you're eating their salary on IR if they were to get, or you cut them with an injury designation and that kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
Just real quick before we get to the other position, I have one question for you. I just want what you think. Why do they cut the guys that they cut immediately after the game, even though there's a bunch of other guys on the team that we know are absolutely not making the team? How do they decide which of those like 8 guys are going to be like Montreal Washington? I get he's a vet, right? You want to give him a chance to maybe someone else will pick him up. You get him out ahead of the whole mass of people, so you let people know he's available. But you're picking some other guys that you knew were absolutely getting cut. Why do you cut them first and keep some
I
of the
don't
other
know.
guys that you're absolutely
I
going to
don't,
cut?
I don't, I don't get it. There were a couple of guys that they cut I would have liked to put on the practice squad. I kind of like a couple of the plays that O'Donnell Fortune made in the finale. I would have liked to have held on to him maybe one more year. I don't know. You guys, we could speculate on that. Yeah, David, this is what I was talking about. Yeah, PUP does not include them, but it does count against the 90. That's what I'm saying. So I think they have to make 27 moves, but 2 of the moves are going to be the guys that are on the PUP now. And then there have been some guys that just have not been practicing for a long time. Daquan Felton hasn't practiced in a long time. There's another guy that's been this Demetrius Flanagan Foles. He hasn't. I don't remember the last time he practiced. It's interesting. Schmelk had him making the team, which I thought was interesting. I was like, we haven't even seen him. I don't think he's been on the practice field in like 3 weeks. But anyways, what about inside linebacker? Did you have 4, or did you have more than that, or? Because if you had anyone else, it would have to be Flanagan Foles. See, I think he's the only other guy that
I don't see. I mean, I think if anything, if they find somebody else elsewhere, but I think it's going to be the 4 that you have. I mean,
okay. And then what are you doing at corner then? My rationale here, I think the top 4 are pretty obvious. Art Green's a gunner, and I thought he played pretty well in the preseason finale. I thought he was all over the field at one point.
And to give you credit, you called him when you and I were talking about this like 2 podcasts ago. You mentioned Green as I think you're and for me that I was underselling what he can bring, and I think you're right. I think he makes the team. I think they like him a lot.
Well, I think he's one of your gunners. So I think that gives him, whether he can develop into anything more that we'll have to see. Trey Hawkins is the guy that if he didn't get hurt again, I think he had an opportunity here. But again, he's another one of these guys who just can't stay healthy.
I think he goes to short-term IR.
This is one of those spots, but I think he's back at practice. I think he's back at practice now. I think. He hasn't been on. They haven't listed him the last 2 days. This is the one area that I would still grab somebody on the waiver wire. This is the one area that I still think they will. This and maybe safety, depending on what they feel about Makari Page. I think this is the one area that there might be somebody who shakes free that just offers you more than Trey Hawkins offers you at this point.
I still think we're going to pick up a veteran from somewhere. Whether
corner or safety,
veteran corner, we've got to get a safety. I mean, reality.
Unless they like Makari Page, I don't know if they like Makari Page or not.
You feel comfortable with Makari Page as your 4th guy?
4th, yes. 3rd, no. 4th, yes.
I mean, the way we play safeties, those 3 are going to play a lot.
Right, and if someone got hurt, you'd have to stop playing so many 3 safety packages and play more corners. But yeah, I mean, but the Giants don't tend to carry more than 4 safeties, and we've gone years where we've got a developmental safety as your 4th guy. Is it ideal? No, but I don't know how strongly they feel about Makari Page. If they like him, I could see him being your 4th guy. If they don't, if they think they can get somebody better and put Page on the practice squad, they can go that route.
So you would be comfortable if he was number 4, though?
comfortable is the wrong word. I would not be surprised if he's the fourth guy. I would probably I would like it better if there was another guy there, but that's not where I'm most worried. I'm more worried about defensive line, and I'm more worried about getting another corner in here. I don't like I'll tell you what I don't like on our team. I don't like our wide receivers. I don't like the way the defensive line is constructed. That bothers me, though. There's some, and a lot of that goes back to what we were talking about. I don't like Evan Neal, and I don't like Jalen Hyatt. I would want those two off the team right now, and I don't like Nunez Roches. That's what bothers me right now. I think Makari Page right now is the least of my concerns. Is that the best way I can put it?
Sure. I get you. Yeah.
Look, if they talk to Makari Page, he goes to the practice squad, and they get another veteran in here, I'm fine with that. In a way, they kind of wanted Kevon Wallace maybe was going to be that guy, but they cut him. He's one of those guys that you said, you just asked, why did they cut him after the 8?
They cut him yesterday.
Yeah. So, and some people say they kind of like Raheem Lane, but he's hurt, and they don't know how bad he's hurt. So I think he's got a groin injury. I'm not sure how bad he's hurt. So
that's the kind of guy that you probably go ahead and release, and you want to put him on a practice squad and not worry about it. Corey Black, no thought that you might want to put him on short-term IR, or you let him go through and try to get him on the practice squad?
I could see him making on the 53 instead of Trey Hawkins. I could see him being cut on the practice squad. I don't think anyone's going to pick him up. I mean, has he done? I don't think he's done enough for another team to go, wow, we got to have Corey Black on our. I'm not saying he doesn't have a future. I'm just saying I don't think there's any tape on him that another team out there is going to. It sounds like you have a better feel for this than me because you pay attention to other teams more than I do. It seems like there are a lot of corners around the NFL that might shake free.
Correct.
I'm seeing tweets in my feed saying such and such team is expected to get rid of this corner. He's had a pretty decent summer. It's kind of a surprising move. I've seen things like that. I don't know if you've seen the same type of thing.
Sure. Yep.
So given that, I would think Corey Black isn't the kind of guy that's high on anybody's radar right now.
So let me ask you kind of I don't know, it's a little bit of an unfair question, but I'm curious on your thought. Based on where the Giants have been over the last few years under Shane Daboll regime, is there a chance that Shane may lean towards keeping his draft picks, i.e., I did a good job, at the bottom of the roster over some other guys, even though they might not have shown? A guy like a Corey Black, a guy like Fedoni, even if you think there's other players that might be better, but you're justifying, hey, I want my draft picks on the team. Just curious.
I certainly feel that way about Evan Neal.
Which is weird because we're so deep now that you might as well get that whole draft minus Tibbs, and even that has been questionable about how good he was compared to maybe Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner, those guys. You wonder, but at this point you're deep in. But these guys in this draft right now, this draft looks like a bona fide home run for Shane. Is he okay being at top heavy and not worrying if some of those guys make it to the practice squad?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I'll say this. I would worry that if you cut Fedoni, that he flashed enough in the preseason that some tight end desperate team could take a flyer on him. So if there is a team that is got 2 or 3 good tight ends, but their fourth tight end or their third tight end is crap, and they saw Fedoni and they said, you know what? We passed on him in the draft, but he looks like his knees are fine now. And he made I'm going to claim him and see. That would worry me. That's why I would not cut Fedoni, because I would worry that somebody out there who needs a tight end will just say, you know what, we're just going to take a shot and see what we have in him. There's another tight end who's doing really, really well that was in the same kind of conversation when you and I were talking about Fedoni during the draft. Gunnar Helm, who went to Tennessee, I think he's in Tennessee, is having a really good preseason. But Gunnar Helm was another one of those kind of tight ends in that area that when you and I were doing the draft, you and I kind of were spot on with our draft picks when we were going along. We were, I mean, some of this was obvious, like the Abdul Carter, obvious. Everyone could have gotten that. But I'm talking about when we thought defensive lineman in round 3. We were thinking Scadaboo in round 4. You and I were like, oh my God, if Bo is still there in 5, we got to do this. But you and I were also saying tight end late in the draft.
Yep.
And Fedoni was one of those guys. So it was Helm was another. So anyways, my point is there are teams out there that need tight end, and I would be reluctant to let the 7th rounder go there. Black's kind of I put in a different category because I don't think there's enough tape on him, and he was hurt. Part of that was because he missed. He missed at least one game. Did he? I'm not sure if he missed 2. I know he missed 1.
Did he play in the Patriots game? I don't believe.
Yeah,
it was minimal if he did.
If he did, it was minimal because I don't remember him being out there that much.
What I thought was interesting. Let's if you don't mind,
maybe that's why they didn't do it, John. Maybe because they want to cut him and they didn't.
It could be. That could be. What I want to talk to you. Let's for a moment. Let's just ignore the numbers and just stick to corner for a second. Were you surprised at how much Cordell Flott actually played in the last game? It almost seemed like it was a lesser version of what Banks did in game 1. And I know the Giants were very thin at corner. They were very thin at safety. Hell, they were possibly talking about Juice Wells playing safety in the game. So I was surprised Flott played as much as he did. And I feel like, quite frankly, if it were me, Cordell Flott's my corner outside with Paulson and Debo.
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, what would you do? What would you pick?
Who would I start?
Flott or Banks?
I need to study the Redskins a little bit more. Commanders. my belief is, unless I'm mistaken, is Adebo played mostly on the side opposite of where McLaurin plays. And I have to double check that. And I believe, even though he had a horrible year last year, I believe Banks played really well against McLaurin last year. Didn't he have it? Wasn't one of his good games against McLaurin, like really good games against him? Didn't he shut down?
It would have to be the first game because it certainly wasn't the second game.
I'm thinking of the one in Washington. I'm thinking about the one with the stupid kicker one.
So in Washington game,
I'd have to go back and look at the game, but I thought, there was a couple. Banks had a rough start in this sense. He was good, bad, and then he got bad. But at the first sort of third of the season, he was flip-flopping. And his good games were actually really good. And I think the Commanders game was one of those good games.
It could be.
So if I'm right, and I'd have to double check that, I'm almost tempted to play Banks because of his history against McLaurin, if I'm correct about that.
So just to be clear, the Giants don't move corners based on who they're matched up against. They stick to a strictly right-left scenario.
Well, they've asked Shane Bowen if he's going to do that with the Debo, and understandably, he won't answer that question, which he shouldn't. So
I would, yeah. If it were me, I'm putting my best on the best. That's how I do it.
Well, and this has been a subject of debate with the beat reporters whether they're going to do that or not. Nobody knows. It's just a guess whether or not they're going to do that. I am checking real quick to see if Corey Black played in.
See, I like Flott. I think Flott plays the ball better. Now, he's thin and he gets hurt. That's the biggest problem. But overall, he's a guy with the anticipation. He plays the ball in the air. He seems to trail the guy and still play the ball. When Banks trails a guy, he literally trails the guy. And that's not conducive to being in a position to knock the ball away. When he's playing them tight, it's hit or miss if he's going to get a pass interference penalty, and he never turns his head. So I really like Flott. And again, I know I've been anti-Banks and I understand it, but Flott has shown me enough. And it's debatable. There's a number of people that have said the same thing. I think Flott's the guy. Do I think the Giants do it? I don't know. They stick a lot to where they drafted guys. That seems to really play a role, and I don't like it. But I would play Flott.
Yeah, and let me see real quick. Corey Black did not play against the Patriots.
I didn't think I saw him.
He did not play against the Patriots. And then
you might be right. They might have just been hiding him just to slide him through.
I don't know. I know he's been hurt, but I don't. But I think he practiced today. Again, I have to check. And then real quick I'm going to check the
Yeah, and then we're
let's
going to
finish.
want to
So
wrap
I'm
up.
looking at this. You finish up on any roster thoughts. I wanted to just see real quick on McLaurin and Banks. But was there anything you wanted to final thoughts on the roster?
Yeah, roster wise, I think you can look for this. The quarterback situation to me is very interesting. I could see the Giants going with 4, mainly because your trade ability is going to be greater closer to the deadline with these guys, with whoever you might want to trade. And by the way, I wouldn't take Russell Wilson completely off the potential trade category if a team with a Super Bowl aspiration loses their quarterback 3 games in or 4 games in, and if the Giants are 1-3, 1-2, 3 games, 1-3 through 4 games, and all of a sudden Wilson becomes into mix. He's on a 1-year contract, so some teams might be totally cool with just eating that 1 year. We're going to play it, and we'll deal with next year. I don't think it's going to happen, but don't take that off the realm of possibility, because that gives the Giants every
That
reason.
would really throw, and you and I have talked about that before. That would surprise a lot of people.
But I think
You're going to love this. I was right. You're going to love this. You're going to just shake your head. Size review on Deonte Banks against Washington in week 2. Deonte Banks is clearly the best cover man on this team, and it isn't close. He was excellent against Terry McLaurin. The size, speed, physical nature combination is really something else, especially with the fire he plays with. His run defense assignment was poor, however. While he is aggressive, he isn't very assignment savvy. But the reason I bring that up is, love or hate Deonte Banks, he played well against McLaurin. There's history there. So I think they're going to use Slot and Banks in matchup way. That's how I would. So if we're playing sort of a quicker, faster, shiftier receiver, I'd put Flott out there. If you want someone who's going to try to be more physical with someone at the line of scrimmage, I think I'm going with Deonte Banks. So that, to answer your question, they may both be starters. And
well, I mean, you could. I mean, the Giants have done it in the past, right? I mean, when Mark Collins first came on, he wasn't a starter right away. He kind of supplanted Elvis Patterson as the season went on. He became more and more of the guy. Then later on, it was Perry Williams and Everson Walls came in, and they shared that position together. Later, it was Sheldon White came on board, and all that good crap. But Sheldon White was bad. Adrian White was bad. All the whites at safety and corner were bad.
So let's finish up on the roster. So my final comments on this is I'm encouraged that the roster is really moving in the right direction. I think this team can compete. I'm very curious to see how the transition, if any, happens at quarterback moving forward. I think most of these selections were pretty easy to pick. The question is, do they keep Dante Miller? Is it Gunner or is it Smith Marset at wide receiver? Do they keep Bo Collins too? What the biggest mystery to me is tight end. Tight end to me is just a big mystery. I think offensive line is pretty straightforward. Defensive line mostly straightforward, other than it's at 5 or 6, and then just at the bottom of the secondary with both spots, can you upgrade somebody on the waiver wire? But to me, the biggest thing here that I wish we still had was a really good run defending defensive lineman. And I wish we had a better option at wide receiver still than Jalen Hyatt. I mean, Jalen Hyatt, he's lost me.
Well, I'll tell you, one veteran that was out there that is no longer out there, Amari Cooper is returning to the Raiders on a 1-year deal. And then I thought it was interesting that Trey Hendrickson signed a 1-year deal finally with the Bengals. $30 million. The reason I bring that up is, keep in mind, a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be looking for a new contract after this season is over. He's going to want to redo that 5th-year piece that he's going to be looking for his contract. I think the Giants have kind of padded themselves by bringing Carter on, Burns on. They can negotiate from a position of strength, but the price for an edge rusher is definitely going to continue to go up.
Right. I don't think the Giants are looking at any wide receivers out there, with the possible exception of Gabe Davis, because they brought him in. If they bring in another wide receiver other than Gabe Davis, it's somebody who's going to get cut.
If they bring
or a trade, like you said, a trade.
But real quick, if they brought in Gabe Davis, would that mean the end of Jalen Hyatt?
Yeah, I've already said that.
Yeah, I would think so. Because they're the same guy. I mean, positional wise, what they bring to the table, it's the same guy.
Or, well, it depends on what. I guess you could say they could swap out him with Bo Collins if you keep 6. I guess you could do that. But I mean,
Hyatt, what Davis brings to the table is actually
I agree.
Than what Hyatt does. Hyatt's a one-dimensional guy.
But you and I don't like Jalen, so we got to be careful we don't bring our subjective.
Well, it's not that I don't like him. It's the fact that
you do not like him. You don't like Banks, and you don't like Jalen.
Okay, hold up. Yeah. Wait. I will readily admit I do not like Deonte Banks and what he has done on the field. Jalen Hyatt, on the other hand, he only does one thing. My problem is he doesn't do it very well.
You don't like his personality either.
Well, I feel like it's starting to show up in what he's been doing, right? That video, we all thought, I'll speak for myself, but include other Giants fans. We thought it was funny when he was talking to the Cowboys wide receiver coach. Hey, what kind of receiver am I, coach? What are you saying? Well, guess what? That coach knew exactly what you were, a one-trick pony, and that one trick is like freaking. It's a card trick. It's boring. You're literally going to go, what do I have in my hand kind of deal.
The card trick would be all right if he was good at it. The problem is it's in his head now. So when he was at Tennessee, his ball skills were actually really good at Tennessee. So he could catch those deep passes, but what he did against New England is he dropped them. So it's almost like he felt the pressure, and then the second one was a pure emotional, or he was pressing. You could tell he was pressing on that one, and it's in his head now. So if he can't do that, look, Jalen Hyatt, people are going to say Jalen Hyatt has bad hands. No, he doesn't have bad hands. He actually has pretty good hands. But right now, he knows he's under the spotlight, and when he had to make a play, he wilted. So I don't want someone who wilts in that situation.
And if you really know, if you watch him, meaning other teams, if you're a corner and you watch him, what are you going to do when you go up against him? I'm going to be
real physical.
I'm going to be physical with him. That dude is Byron Williams. He's Featherstone from Texas State. If you watch Necessary Roughness, that he cannot physically get off that, and I think it affects him. He relied on pure speed, but guess what? There's guys in the NFL that are fast.
You know what pissed me off the most in that game? Where I was like, all right, I'm done. When Jackson Dart threw that perfect bomb to him, and there was contact, and like you said, he was pushing off too.
Yep.
But the ball hit him in the shoulder pads, and he looked around for the flag and was bitching that he didn't get the flag. You fucker. You screwed up. Wow. You pushed off, and now you have the gall to blame somebody else on that play.
Right.
What a loser. That's a loser mentality there. He should have gotten up and went, that's on me. But instead he was like, hey, where's the flag?
Well, and what bothered
and you're the one who pushed off, you dumbass.
And I'm gonna sound like the old guy, get off my lawn kind of stuff on this one. It bothered. So I made a point on X to a bunch of people. I can't remember who made the original post.
Are you talking about posing in the end zone after he scored?
Well, I'll get to that. But I made a point when they talked about, Jalen really showed them on that after what did they say? After all the S talkers were putting him down, he made that catch.
Put him down. He screwed up.
A catch is a catch is a catch. I don't care that one was a touchdown. It's still just a reception. Your job as a receiver is to catch the ball. If you drop 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5, and one of them is a touchdown, I don't care about the touchdown. How many points did we lose because you didn't convert third down? You didn't change the position of the field. How many more plays did we have to do because you didn't take a perfect opportunity? Then you make the touchdown catch, which, by the way, Jameis Winston put a perfect pass for a guy who's standing on the sidelines, who has no idea he's about to go into the game, comes in and throws that pass. That was a dime. Yeah. You make the catch and you pushed off, and what do? You're posing for the crowd like you are.
I would have just turned around. I would have turned around and handed the ball to the official.
Beat Barry Sanders. Here you go. Here's the ball.
In that situation, given he had caught the other 2 passes, then you can have your moment.
Absolutely.
But no, not at that point. And again, He reminds me of a much, much worse Stacy Robinson in the
Yep,
sense that, do you remember with Stacy?
absolutely.
Stacy would drop passes. Sims would put it right on him and he would drop it. And Sims would be like, damn it,
Yeah,
we set that up, and the whole game was the setup. That's what bothers me about Hyatt right now is Brandon Brown correctly came out and said, Jalen Hyatt you guys are looking at him the wrong way. He's a guy that his speed will affect the defense. But there are 2 or 3 times in the game, if you get the ball to him, he can change the outcome of the game. He's right about that. However, if he drops one of those passes or both those passes, then that's moot. And Stacy Robinson was kind of the same way. Stacy had that great catch against the 49ers, but he
sure.
bobbled.
But even that was bobbling.
He bobbled the hell out of that one too. So he's like a much worse Stacy Robinson in that sense. He's your deep speed receiver who you can't really trust. So
Right.
And it's Byron
also
Williams. Byron Williams did more than Byron Williams will finish his career doing way more than Jalen did, and that's saying something because Byron Williams didn't have much of a career.
That's a very good point. And it's also, though, if you are that guy, this is the antithesis or the opposite of what Brown is saying. If you're that guy, right, and you set up the perfect play for that,
you got to catch it,
and you drop it, you have deflated that whole thing is just
you set that up. You wait to just set that play up, and you drop it, and it's like. And I remember Sims being so pissed off at Stacy Robinson that he bent over and started picking the grass. He was just trying to not
show
that he was that angry with his receiver on that. So, anyways,
all
right, we're spending way too much time on Jalen Hyatt. Right, any deep thoughts?
I don't know if I'm going out on a list. I don't know if I'm deep thoughts. You know, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. God darn it. No. I think the Giants are going to complete a trade tomorrow. I think it's going to involve a future picks. I would love to see them trade DeVito to get something for him. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to get enough. But cutting him, I think someone's going to claim him. If they caught him, somebody's going to claim him. So hopefully that's it. But I think they will make a trade, and I do think it's going to be for either a safety or a corner. That's my thing. Tomorrow, right. A trade for either a safety or a corner.
But look at my projection here, which is probably going to be wrong. Okay, I'm confident about most of it. There's a couple.
I think you're.
Well, I think I might be real wrong on the tight ends now if John Schmelk's correct, But say I'm in the ballpark, I could see them very easily holding on to Tommy DeVito and like cutting Trey Hawkins and then seeing if they can work out like what Paul Dottino was talking about and seeing if they could work out a trade after the deadline for DeVito, because you're not going to lose sleep over if you cut Trey Hawkins or like another player on this list with Makari Page. You could cut Makari Page. Because he'd probably end up on the practice squad anyway. So what I'm saying is I still could see them holding onto a fourth quarterback, even if it's not long term.
The hard part with waiting to trade him is that you release all those other quarterbacks get released, right? By the way, for Giants fans out there, which I have been arguing with this for a very long time, can we stop with the Hendon Hooker bullshit? He just got cut by the Lions, and they have absolutely nothing at backup quarterback, by the way. The Lions are a team that we could trade Tommy DeVito to, and it would make sense. They have really nothing.
I thought of that when they cut Hooker, because they don't have much there. And then the other guy we talked about, again, I got the Joe Milton stuff blew up in a lot of people's faces too. So Again, you and I were like, maybe take a late flyer on. I think I was. I was
not. I
thought, if you want to spend like a 7th or 6th round pick maybe on him, not. But I wasn't like.
He's
masculine too. Trade away a 2nd round pick for Joe Milton, stuff like that. So
again, another Tennessee guy. I think the Giants, I think they're going to trade something. They tend to make it might be an inconsequential kind of like, small little deal, but I think they're going to want a veteran. I've been saying it all along. I can't back off from it now, or it doesn't seem like I really meant it. I do mean it. I think they're going to get a veteran corner. I don't think you can feel super comfortable with Flop Banks, Paulson Adebo, and then really kind of nothing with any kind of real experience behind it. You're going to want that veteran presence, a guy who's done it. He might not be on the top side of his career. He's kind of on the backside of a Dave Thomas, just somebody like that. An Everson Walls on the backside, that kind of thing.
One of the most important players on this team right now is Andrew Phillips. If Andrew Phillips gets
big
hurt,
time,
they're in trouble. So John Schmelk had Nick Jones making the team. And I think largely because of that. But Nick Jones, to me, is not – he's a guy that you can replace, again, in the waiver wire or like a trade. But I'm not trading away for draft picks. We're down to 6. I'm not trading away – or are we not? No, are we still down to 6?
Yeah, but I think it would be like you're probably trading like a 27. A lot of teams
Maybe.
would do
I think there might be some corners on the waiver wire this year. I don't know if you need to. Again, remember, we got the third in the waiver wire claim. So we'll see.
Other than that, do you see anything else? Giants maybe doing a new contract with somebody just to free up, signing somebody longer term to free up a bunch of money for this year, or anything else.
I guess they could. I don't really focus on that.
I don't think there is anybody left. You could redo contracts, but
I mean, they could. I mean, they could do something with Burns, I suppose, or somebody again. Didn't they do something with Burns recently? They could do something. I would not do any more. I would not push any more money with Andrew Thomas.
No, he worries me.
They need him. He's got to complete a season healthy. I would not push any more money with him.
If you had one, if you had one guy.
They did redo somebody's contract. Was it Dexter or was it Burns?
I thought they moved some of Dexter's money around, but
they can do something like that. But I'm not really focused.
But I'm just wondering if they're play with somebody else, like maybe Wandell early, so that they can drop a whole bunch of money this year. Really reduce the cap hit, or somebody else. But I doubt it. I don't really think there's anybody to do.
The question to me is do they want to redo Jermaine Illuminor, or do they want, how high are they on Jermaine Illuminor? Do they want to keep him around and maybe do his contract now before he hits free agency? Or are they like, you know what, we really like him, but not enough to pay the money he wants? To me, that's interesting. And remember, Marcus Bowe is lurking in the background still, too.
My one problem with Illuminor, if you do that now, when you signed him to the deal that you gave him, he was sort of a guard tackle combo. Now you're strictly looking at
you're
renegotiating a tackle.
He's not going to be cheap. He won't be cheap.
I think Bo's kind of eliminated the need to do that right now.
I don't know. That's what I don't know. To me, he's the one guy that if they were going to redo a contract right now in terms of like negotiating an extension, to me, he's the obvious one. I would not do Wandell. I mean, Wandell's
too risky. Too risky.
He's got to prove it to me that he's a player. So I can't think of any other player right now.
So with that, we probably should wrap it up.
We wrap it up.
Long. Real quick, one guy, and I think I already know the name. If you could get rid of one single guy, only one, but that was the guy, no matter who it was, who would you get rid of?
You mean like if I wanted to purge anyone?
One guy you want to purge from the team. Who's the one guy?
And I'm only limited to one?
Just one of. I know, that's what I'm saying. That's a tough one if you can only have one. Because for me, it's Evan Neal.
Yeah, and the reason why I would say Evan Neal right now, and I hope he proves me wrong, is I do think there are other players on this roster that can do what he does better.
Correct.
Where the other positions, I'm not sure. So it's easy to say get rid of Jalen Hyatt, but who replaces?
Once you get 5'6", it's kind of like, are they
and
better?
Then the same thing with Nunez Roches at this point. If you get rid of him, but then so again. Nunez Roches would be close because I think there are other guys that do the same types of things, like a Jordan Riley. I think again, is there a gigantic difference between Corey Durden and Nunez Roches? I'm not so sure. Now, somebody who knows football like trenches, like a defensive line coach, might tear me apart for even saying that. But someone's got to show me what Nunez Roches does. I don't get what Nunez Roches does.
If you weight it in, and you'll love this, if you weight it in financial terms, return on investment would say Durden would be what you get from him would be worth a lot more than how much we're
sure.
paying
Yeah, I
Nunez
know
Roches.
that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they're so if you go on Carl Banks's feed, he'll start yelling at you about you're not looking at the right thing. You don't. Darius Alexander is playing better than you guys think because you're not looking at the right things. And I've been watching football long enough to know I know kind of what he's talking about in terms of it's not all about making flashy plays. I get it. It's playing straight up on your man, making sure you have gap integrity, things like that. I get that. But when I see Nunez Roches get blown off the ball fairly regularly, and I'm like, every time I see there's like a big run, it's either, and a lot of times, again, it's not the defensive lineman, it is linebackers or could be a defensive back. But so many times it's like, well, Christ, Chapman and Nunez Roches are on the field, together. That was a lot of like one drive, that one game against the Jets when we were all like, Jesus Christ, they can't get off the field. Go back and watch who was on the field at the same time. It was Nunez Roches and Chapman on that drive. It was like they couldn't hold the point of attack. And we could go on and on about this, but I would say Evan Neal, but Nunez Roches is a close second.
So if there was one guy you could keep of and I don't mean guys that we already know are going to be there, but one guy you think might not be there that you personally would keep, only one.
Dulcich. I don't think they're going to keep Dulcich, and I would keep Dulcich.
I'm not that far off with you. I actually want Fedoni over Dulcich just because I think potentially long term, he just reminds me not necessarily of a.
I think they're keeping.
We hit a home run with Jake Ballard years ago. I think he's that kind of guy.
But I may be wrong, but I think they're keeping Fedoni. So I think they're going to get rid of Dulcich.
Okay.
If they get rid of both, I'll be. This is one of those things. If they both end up on the practice squad, someone's going to be coming back at us and going, "You assholes! You see how worried you were going to lose those guys, and that wasn't a big deal." And they may be right, but right now I'm a little fearful that someone's going to claim. And I can't remember if Dulcich is vested. I don't know if he goes to waivers or not. I should have looked that up before. But anyways, I'm a little bit worried about. I just like Dulcich's style of play, especially given what we got at wide receiver. I like his receiving ability. He scored 2 touchdowns in that game, and he showed why he's.
He was a 22 draft pick, so this is technically his 4th year.
So he still would go through waivers,
so
right?
I think you have to complete 4 years to not go through waivers.
Right. He's in the same category. He's in the same draft as Evan Neal, right?
Yes. Yeah. Same as Tibbs. Same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we caught Evan Neal would go through waivers, right? Yes.
And nobody's claiming him for that. For those.
Well,
they're not going to take on that salary. They would rather sign. You know what I mean? Because then you're taking on his salary. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And that would be great for the Giants. Go ahead and take his salary. I mean,
Yeah. But they're keeping. But Evan Neal, I agree with you. The lateral agility is just not there, and I don't know. I mean, the commentators during the game were saying the same thing. Kirk
Herbstreit was like, you see the same issues. You would think inside he was like inside. You think he's protected, but he's still showing the same issues. And this is against lesser talent. Keep in mind, right? The Patriots, and I don't know if they cut him already or the word is they're going to cut him. Cole Strange was a 1st-round draft pick for them at offensive line. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
He's on his way out in New England. He just has not developed. Evan Neal is 22. He was drafted as a tackle to be the right tackle. Failed horribly. You put him inside, and as others have said, if you put him in a phone booth, hopefully his size, his strength. But guys, when they rush him, he cannot move left or right.
He gets backups. He was getting abused by backups. So, all right.
So that being said,
he's going to make the team. Whether he can get. I mean, again, the other question is, how is he going to get any better this year if he doesn't play? And I don't really want him playing, but if he doesn't play, you hold him on the roster the whole year. He's a free agent next year and he leaves anyway. So wouldn't it have been better to keep like Brian Hudson on the roster or Stinney or God, I'd have to go look. I mean, even Christ, who's in there? Yeah, I don't think Cy agrees with me, but I don't think that Forsythe has been a train wreck. I think he's not one. I'd rather protect Jake Kubas than Evan Neal at this point.
Oh, I absolutely would. Yes.
And I don't think Kubas had a really good good summer, but I would rather have. But he's got an upside that Neal. I think Neal is who Neal is. I don't think. I think I would rather just use the roster spot on somebody else.
I will always take a guy who exceeds his physical ability versus a guy who has physical ability and just never seems to get it done. Athletically, Evan Neal should be head and shoulders, and not just because of height, ahead of a Kubis, of a Josh Azudu. He just isn't. All you can hope for is that if you can push your tackle and your center really tight to the guard, that you can move as a wall forward. But if there's a gap and somebody can rush him and get past him immediately, he is playing catch up the entire way, and it's just not worth it. He almost got Dart hurt on one of those plays. The guy took it inside and it hit him low. I don't want my quarterback getting hit low.
No, he didn't play well. He didn't play well against backups. It was consistent. He had 24 plays. He screwed up on 4 of them against backups.
Right. So that being said, I think we've covered what we think is going to happen. Tomorrow's going to be a big deal. Now, Wednesday night we'll have another show.
Sai is coming on.
Sai is coming on. We're going to go over the roster, and who knows? Maybe we'll even take a peek ahead. Maybe we'll ask him some questions about some guys in 26.
Yeah, and all you guys are going to be shocked when we found out that we pulled a Philadelphia Eagle and we traded DeVito for a first-round draft pick to somebody. Wouldn't it be awesome? Wouldn't it be just one time do like something that Howie Roseman does? How the hell did the Giants trade DeVito for a first-round draft?
So
that'd be awesome.
Make sure you keep an eye on tomorrow on BBI, BigBlueInteractive.com. Hey, the merch link is across the bottom. People asked for merch. It does help. It does help both BBI. It helps the inside BBI. So feel free. And of course, on Wednesday when we have Sai on, we're going to try to put as many questions up there. I will tell you straight up. I know Eric hates it when I say this way. So this is me saying it. Super chat is going to get you seen a lot easier because there will be a lot of people asking questions for Sai, and I can only get so many at a time. So just keep that in mind. But we do put a lot of time and effort into this, and I appreciate everybody's comments over the weekend. So thank you for that. That's what we got for tonight, Eric. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Who's 4 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends, 4 tight ends, 4 running backs? Who knows? But we'll find out tomorrow afternoon. So with that, unless you've got anything else, I'm going to close it out, and we'll see you again Wednesday night with Dave Syvertson of Our Lad Scouting.